I'm honestly starting to think, oh, by the way, Happy New Year for all the people watching out there. I hope you all had a wonderful, safe and prosperous New Year with friends and family. Yeah, first review. I think this is the first review up for January of 2025, and I'm starting to think that Aspire has some kind of brain scanning technology in this room, because anytime I think, you know what, I haven't heard from Aspire, ding, an email appears from Aspire. We've got something new. Like, they actually sent 2 items in. They're both podcasts. I'm looking at their main podcast next week, but I thought I'd look at this first because it's one of those more unusual designs from Aspire. It's a very, very unusual design from Aspire. What we're basically looking at here is the Cyber GT. It's part of the Cyber range that Aspire launched about, what, 2.5 years ago now? So they're continuing with that line of pod kits, and it's a very interesting pod kit, this. You've got your main pod here and a shitload of battery down the side. Lots and lots of battery life in this. How well does this thing perform? Only one way to find out. It's time for a podcast review. Before we spin round and have a look at the table cam, did you know that over 50% of the people that's watching this are watching the cut down version of the review on YouTube, or watching the full review on X or on Rumble, are not following or subscribed to the channel? Following or subscribing doesn't cost a thing, folks. If you're on Rumble or on YouTube, it's the button down there. If you're on X/Twitter, just hit the follow button at the very top of my profile. Let's spin round and have a look at this thing, shall we? So, the Cyber GT pod kit. Starting at the top, you have got your pod here. Yeah, you recognise this pod. Aspire's been using this line of pods for a very long time now. Fill hole is on the side, so filling this thing is very, very simple. Pop that open like that, and we're going to be popping in some peach custard, because I have still to mix up a fresh batch of black vine. So we're actually going with the much, much thicker peach custard this time. So let's just fill you up. And again, if this is your first time filling the pod up, what you'll want to do is close it back off again, sit it upright for a good 3 or 4 minutes, go to the kitchen, make a cup of tea, make a cup of coffee. By the time you come back, this should have soaked up all the juice. There we go, pop that to one side. The main battery part itself, you've got the sled that actually carries the actual pod. There's your 2 battery contacts there, along with the 2 magnets to keep everything in place. On this side, you've got your main fire button with a light show, more about that later on. On this side, you've got the Aspire's logo, nothing at the back, nothing there. At the base, you do, of course, have your don't vape in a bin and your USB-C charge port. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 switches everything on. There we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All sorts of stuff going on here now. That is basically the power settings. What you're basically looking at is the power settings for this. The way that Aspire have done this is rather interesting when it comes to the way that you actually control how everything works. The line that you're seeing here, those bars that you're seeing there, is basically the state of the battery. So depends what you're looking for. What I remember now, if I'm remembering this now, you have got battery level of quarter or under. It's going to be 1 light. Battery level of between quarter to 50%. You're going to have 2 of those lights on. Battery indicator with 3 lights on, you're going to be looking at around about 3/4 full. And if all 4 bars are lit up, you're basically going to be looking at a good battery. So if the bar down there is the only one that's lighting up, you need to charge the thing up. Simple as that. Adjusting wattage, it's basically 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And you can see the different colours that are lighting up. So when I first got this, I thought, oh, that's the power in. No, it's not. It's not. It's that there. It's the colour that this lights up. Those are your main battery indicators for how charged or how discharged the actual battery is. Personally, I would have made those the power indicators right there. and had that thing, like the Aspire logo, have the Aspire logo basically flash when the battery gets to 25%. That's the way I would have personally done it. But then again, I don't work at Aspire, so what do I know? Let's pop you back in. There we go, fully charged as you can see, and let's head back round and have a vape in this thing, shall we? So again, peach custard in this, because I've still to mix up, because I've got that much left of black vine, and I've still to mix up a fresh bash. So yeah, this is basically 90 VG that I've got sitting in here right now, right? Peach custard. This is the thing about Aspire, they always nail mouth to lung. Doesn't matter what pod you look at, doesn't matter what mouth to lung stock coil tank you look at from Aspire, if it's got the Aspire name on it, and it's mouth to lung, it is actual mouth to lung. It's not an airy, disposable, wafty, it's an actual mouth to lung. The old school mouth to lung fans like me will remember, this is tight. It's not like sucking a golf ball through a garden hose, but it's a tight draw, because it's a mouth to lung pod. And it's what you'd want from a mouth to lung pod. It's like smoking a filtered cigarette. That's exactly what it's like. It's like smoking a filtered cigarette. And that's how Aspire's always based the vast bulk of their pods. It's for people that are coming off of filtered cigarettes. Same kind of draw you're getting from this. Exact same kind of draw. And you can see me, I was double drawn, taking it in through the mouth and immediately exhaling back out the nose and just repeating that over and over. That's 90 VG juice that's in this pod, folks. Not even a sign of a dry hit. Not even a sign of it. So there we go. The Aspire Cyber GT. What do I think of this? The eyes and the nose. It is one of those pod kits where the battery life goes on for a very, very long time because of the way that this thing's been designed. It's basically a side-by-side pod kit. You've got your pod there and you've got the battery there. It's a side-by-side system they're using in this thing. Basically, folks, this is very reminiscent of the older Cyber lines that came out. So when you look at the packaging for this, there we go, Cyber GT, and you look at the packaging for the older Cyber models that came out, very similar, very similar. And what Aspire's decided to do is essentially keep the Cyber line of pod kits running with this new idea that they came up with. What you've basically got here is much bigger battery life, because the battery takes up one whole half of the whole system. And when I was testing this thing, it lasted for about 3.5 days. Before that bottom bar decided to light up. So if you're that kind of pod vapor that chain vapes a lot, you're running 3 milligram or maybe 6 milligram either freebase or nicotine salt, and you chain vape, and you're constantly cycling through pods, you might want to get your hands on this. Yeah, you might want to get your hands on this, because there is so much battery life in this. This is going to be the perfect kind of pod system for someone to take out on long walks. Or someone who's basically going out for basically a long walk. Or, more importantly, someone who's working in an office, who's not sure if they've put their pod kit back on charge again. The good thing about this is it'll last you a good 3 or 4 days if you're only occasionally puffing on it at your work. It is a decent enough pod kit, folks. I would be more than happy because of how tight the draw is on this pod. I'd be more than happy handing this to a smoker, showing them how to fill the pod up, how to charge the battery up, and that's all they basically need to know, and go, there you go, that'll help me get off cigarettes. Because that's what these things are for, it's to help you get off cigarettes. And because of the extended battery life of the GT model, unlike a lot of pods out there that seem to die after 3 or 4 hours, this isn't going to die after 3 to 4 hours, folks. It's going to keep going. Simple as that. And lastly, the flavour. Well, the coil, again, like the older Cyber models, the coil looks, the way the coil looks inside the pod, it reminds me a lot of the Aspire BVC coil head. That kind of short, a bit like me, short and fat look. It looks a lot like an Aspire BVC coil that's sitting in here. And if anyone remembers the BVC coil heads, the bottom vertical coils, they had great flavour. For the size of the coil, that great flavour, and that's what you're getting from this. I mean, obviously you're not going to get the same kind of flavour you would get from a direct-to-lung or restrictive direct-to-lung tank, but it's a pod kit. For a pod kit, the flavour's actually pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good, folks. More than happy handing this to a smoker. More than happy. Good fruity number in there. Maybe 12, 16 milligram freebase or 18, 20 milligram Nic salt. Hand that to a smoker. Oh yeah, they give up smoking easily with something like this. Easily with something like this. Nothing wrong with that at all, folks. And that was the Aspire Cyber GT. Big thanks to the folks at Aspire for sending it over for a review. If you like what you've seen, give it a well, I don't know if it's a thumbs up or a heart button or something on Twitter or over on Rumble. And to all the Patreons, Subscribe Stars and the YouTube members who have been supporting this channel, or me for that matter, financially for the past 10 years, a massive thumbs up. There's all your names there if I remember to actually get the thing right. Because I need to redo all this back end, because this back half is no longer on YouTube. So hopefully I got all that bit right and all your names are scrolling up and down there. If it wasn't for you folks, I wouldn't be in a job. Simple as that. Vaping with Vic is essentially crowdfunded. It's been crowdfunded for the better part of 8 years now. If you want more information of how to join up on Patreon or Subscribe Star or the YouTube members, the links are down there in the description. That is it for me, folks. As always, thanks for watching and have a good one.